Without a vision, the people perish. Welcome to Vision Plus, a program featuring a positive outlook, dealing with everyday situations of marriage, children, and business. Believing Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Teacher, author, speaker, delighting audiences from New York to Sacramento with a heart and message for the people today. Bonnie would like to remind you of the 800 number on the screen. Please feel free to call at any time throughout the broadcast and share your concerns. Leave your prayer request and someone will pray with you. And now, teacher, author, and speaker, Bonnie Libhart.
Welcome, I'm Bonnie Libhart, and you're watching Vision Plus. Without a vision, the people perish. And I had the great opportunity, I might have put Rebecca and coerced my way here, but I was visiting my brother, Al Taylor, and Alice in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And at church that morning, on Sunday morning, she said she was going to the Bible class, and since I'm visiting, I came too on Tuesday. And Miriam Taylor was here, and since that's my mother's name, my brother Al that goes here, and my mother's name was Miriam Taylor. Well, we got acquainted, and she invited me to come and speak to her class for a little while. And then after that, she said, maybe we could go speak to the Thursday morning class, and so I got that opportunity. And so I had the great privilege of meeting Pam Huff. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
All right. And when I walked into her office and all of her people that work there with her, lo and behold, Tom Norville, we called him, in Jonesboro, Arkansas, where we used to be. He said, I remember you. You were on television in Jonesboro, Arkansas. And so he was a preacher at Southwest Church of Christ when we were going there. And it was just so wonderful. I thought, man, that's been a few decades ago, and I can't believe somebody could still recognize me after all those years. I think it's the red hair. Only my hairdresser knows for sure. Well, I wanted to, some of you that watch on a daily basis or a consistent basis know about Emily, our daughter that was a Russian interpreter and took people and Bibles to the former Soviet Union. And if you would like to have this book, it's just called Emily. You could get in touch with us. I think the phone number is running at the bottom of the screen. And that is toll-free from anywhere, 1-877-823-6886. And so many of you know about the workshops that we do, the marriage workshops. We call them Sweetheart Weekends, but I think the Lord put our marriage back together. And we wrote this book that was a workbook that became a book, and it's called Putting It Back Together Again. And that is also a book that you may know of someone, yourself or someone else, that's had some challenges. They could get that book. We have another one that's inspirational, motivational book, Build a Better You, starting now. And then perhaps you'd like to have that. In fact, we're writing another anthology with some people that are in our writing class, telling their life stories. And perhaps you would like to be a part of that, and you can get in touch with us and have that happen. Well, I want you to welcome Pam Huff. Pam, welcome to Vision Plus.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Well, I so enjoyed your Bible class that you conducted this morning, and as I heard little bits and pieces of your life story, I thought, that's going to help a lot of people I know. So I want to start out with, I know you weren't born in Chattanooga, so you came here to Chattanooga from where? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, I was born in Tahoka, Texas, a very small town outside of Lubbock, Texas. And when I was 9 years old, my family moved to New Mexico, Ruidoso, New Mexico. Some of you may have heard of it. It's a small ski resort, southernmost ski resort in New Mexico. So it's a beautiful place. And my husband is a contractor, building contractor for commercial businesses. And his job brought him here to Chattanooga 3 years ago. So we've been here and worshiped at the East Burner Church of Christ for the past 3 years, where I work as a secretary.
Right, she runs the office. Just don't let anybody kid you.
I'm gonna say
Pam, I wanted to know about your your own peers, your own siblings, your brothers and sisters, the dynamics of those. I remember one time the preacher said to us, there are two types of families. There's the dysfunctional family, that's us, and the more dysfunctional families. And so I think I hit the latter part. But tell us about your growing up years and a little bit about your brothers
Okay.
and your family.
I guess we call ourselves functionally dysfunctional.
Okay.
And I have three brothers. I'm the oldest of four children, and I have three brothers. One is 2 years younger than I am, and then my parents had a second family. They are
Same parents too, wasn't
same
it?
parents, yes, 10 years and 12 years younger than I am. And their names are Kim. Actually, he is Charles Edgar McClellan III. He was named after my father. And then my younger brothers are Kip and Kurt. So they're Kim, Kip, and Kurt. And I'm Pam. I'm the only one without a K. So, and
Now tell us about your brothers. They remind me so much of Jacob and Esau, and the one that was the love of the dad's life, a little bit like Esau was for Isaac. So tell us about the dynamics of your brothers.
well, my brothers, the oldest, like I said, was named after my father, and he was always just a very, very special, sensitive young guy. And he was an artist, and but my dad really wanted him to play football. So, 8 years later, after he was born, they had another son. And this little guy came out playing football, I think. I think he was born to play football, and he was very sports-minded. And he was just kind of the joker of the family. He was a daredevil, and he made us all laugh. He made us all nervous, But he was kind of the light of the family, so to speak. And then I had a younger brother, the youngest, who is he's a CPA, and he lives in Dallas, and he's just a very wonderful, godly Christian man. And my brother, that's kind of the daredevil, Kip, he describes our family as, well, I guess I should tell you first. My older brother, Kim, that's 2 years younger than I am, he contracted AIDS. He had developed a hunger and a lust for the homosexual lifestyle while he was in college, and he chose to live that lifestyle, and it eventually cost him his life when he contracted AIDS, and he died at the age of 44.
Just the same age as one of the pianists that is kind of well known in the Christian world that died this morning, Berger. Anthony Berger died while he was performing. Well, he was with the Gaither family and a lot of cathedrals and a lot of other, but 44. But he was performing and just playing the piano on a cruise and just fell over and they couldn't revive him. So sometimes death comes. So how many years did you know that he was living that lifestyle?
He came out, so to speak, in 1983, I believe. My father passed away in 1983, and he came out about a month or so after my father passed away. And I think he did that for a reason. I think my dad might have had a long talk with him. We often wonder if my dad did not know, and because he never really spoke of it. But anyway, he came out, and he was actually diagnosed with full-blown AIDS in 1991, and he passed away in 2000. So he had the disease almost 10 years.
One of my closest friends is head of the AIDS education, AIDS in the workplace, and her husband had 4 boys, but 3 of them died of AIDS, and she is just, so sad about some of the things that happened but the one boy doesn't have AIDS, the other 3 passed away, and so she wants people to be educated about that. So that had to be a very traumatic time for your mom and yourself and your other brothers.
It was. A lot of conflict developed because of it. It was very hard. We had to learn that I think the greatest lesson is that God's love is so big, and it loves past the sin. And you see the person, and my brother, I, he just
Kind, gentle, loving.
very. And I was his best friend. I mean, he could talk to me about this, and we prayed about it. And he even at one time just came to me crying and said, Pam, oh, that I had your life. That I had your life. That I could have a spouse that loved me and children of my own. And he said, but I'm in this trap. And he didn't know how to get out. And I don't know. I don't know if he ever really wanted out. I know he wanted something different, but not badly enough. And then, of course, he bought the lie of Satan that I say. And I just would never, ever defame him. He had a struggle. He had a terrible, terrible struggle. It was very hard for him, and I love him, and he did a lot of goods. He worked very diligently with AIDS patients, and literally in the state of New Mexico was able to help a lot of people get medical help that could not get it. He worked for the government there in the AIDS education area, and he really truly, to this day, I will see things on email naming him as a person who gave their family hope and getting medication to people who couldn't afford it. So he took a really bad thing that happened to him and made something very good out of it, because God can make anything beautiful out of our lives.
Oh, absolutely. My husband's brother has always lived with a man, and his mother doted on him. When the first brother was born, the daddy decided that he was going to be with him and work with him in their family business, which is working in a garage and putting in glass in cars and things, very masculine things. So when the second child came along, the mother just took him over. She wanted a girl so bad that she just took him over, and he ended up in the lifestyle, the gay lifestyle. But actually, he had one man, and as far as I know, he told me one time he would just love to have a wife and family, just like your brother said. And he couldn't get, he was in the trap. So we just prayed for him. But he has, just like your brother, he has got to be the sweetest, most joyful persons you could ever meet, and he's giving and loving, and um, I I really love him. I really think he's a wonderful human being, and I certainly can see him beyond. And he reads the Bible and studies, and so lives as close as he can to the Lord. It's just like to me, it seems like an addiction, kind of like overeating or smoking or drinking or all these other kinds of drugs and, kinds of things, gossiping, shopping. A lot of things can be something that's we can't, it's very difficult to control. And it just only by the grace of God. But see, God loved David, and he not only committed adultery with Bathsheba, but he pulled the army away from Uriah, the husband, and in essence, had him killed, and made Nathan lie. I mean, he did the lying, the killing, the adultery, and all of those things, and yet God still said he's a man after his own heart, his own beloved. And so I think God can see beyond all of these, quote, sins that we put up as really incredibly great sins, but he can see the heart of the person. And I am so happy that I do not have to judge another human being. Oh, and then I heard you talking about how your dad doted on your second middle brother, and tell us about that situation.
Well, Kip was, like I said, he was a precious little boy. He charmed us from the moment he came into the world, and we had a lot of fun with him. And I think my father was so excited about him. He looked more like my dad. It's amazing. There are four of us kids, and Kim, my brother who passed away, and my youngest brother are both blonde and blue-eyed, and then my other brother and I, Kip and I, are both dark hair, and except for when we do something to it, you know, a little touch here and there. But anyway, we're both dark hair, darker eyes, and you know, and their dynamics between them was very competitive. Kim felt, I think, threatened by Kip, and Kip could do no wrong, and of course Kim could do no right. And my father was very hard on Kim. He loved him dearly, but he was always going to make him harder and make him stronger and make him tougher, you know. And I think one of the things we learned in our family is that God makes us what he wants us to be, and we can't make people what we want them to be, and we need to get our hands off and let God do the molding. And
Oh my
and
goodness, does this saber belong to you, Pam? Because that is right in my heart, because I sure would like to control my son and my daughter and my three grandchildren, but that's not going to happen. Um, I think my mom seemed to try to be the matriarchal control till her age of 96, and she was awake and in control and has closed her eyes, absent from the body, present with the Lord. You know. So, well, what about your own life? You've had a challenge here, your life with Mike.
yes, life is full of challenges, and if you want to encounter, yeah, ditches, they amen, but we can get out of those ditches because we have a God and who is holy and he is faithful, and he never leaves us where he won't do good. And if he's not through with his work, we'll remain in the ditch till he's ready for us to come out and his work is done. And that requires patience and endurance and hope. And you just have to hope all the time that really, sometimes I ask God, please speed this up, because what am I not getting? Hit me on the head, because this is just too hard down here. But my husband and I, we've been married for 33 years this June.
And you're only 34, so that's
oh yeah, no, it's pretty good, isn't it? We were promised at birth, Anyway, we were married. We had three children. By the time I was 24, I had three children, 4 and under, and I had my first one when I was 20. So I mean, there we were, and we had these babies, and lots of challenges business-wise and everything. My husband had his own business, and we had a child die when she was 5. Our middle child, she was a little girl, and she passed away in 1981, and I was 27. My husband was 29. And it rocked our world. I mean, you just wake up and you wonder if you'll ever be the same. But because we serve such a faithful God, I mean, He's right there with you. And but men and women deal with grief differently. And in 1995, October 11th, 1995, my husband had a complete mental and emotional breakdown and disappeared for almost 3 months. And I didn't know if he was alive or dead, but we're best friends. I mean, it's kind of like Ozzie and Harriet. The people at our church just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was just everything that you just can't believe. I never saw it coming, and I knew he was depressed. It was all based on depression. And I guess really the essence of that story is that if you don't deal with grief, grief deals with you. And my husband had just, after our daughter's death and everything, he went back to work, and he did his job, and he did his fathering and his being a husband, and he check, did his list. And when the bottom line came down to it, life was really, really hard, and he had never dealt with those emotions. And he just one day just snapped. And it was almost 15 years later. And when I found him, he was in Dallas, and it was just by the grace of God that, we are doing so well. One of my prayers during that time was, God, please don't restore our marriage, renew our marriage, refresh us. I don't want the same old thing. I don't want that restored. I want refreshment. And in begging and pleading him with that, it called for me to leave my youngest son, who was 16 years old, and leave him with my mother while I went to help take care of his dad. The hardest thing I ever had to do burying a child is one thing, but to leave them behind to go help your spouse is probably the greatest challenge. And but God was so faithful. And we talked this morning in our Bible study about memorials, places that you encounter God and you name that place. And when I left New Mexico and went and sat in this lonely apartment with this man that I didn't know who he was anymore because he was so ill. And I just looked at him and I just said, God, I don't know what you want to do here. I don't know, but I can't do it alone. I've had to leave my mother and my family and my church family and my child. And I'm just so alone. And he spoke to me that very day. And he said, Pam, I am enough. And he said, I'm taking you this stone's throw away so that I can deal with you. And this is not about you, but I'm going to deal with you. And I just found peace in him every day. And I journaled, and my husband and I went to counseling. And my husband said, the very first session that we had, the counselor asked him, Mike, you've been running for a long time. What made you run? And for the first time since our daughter's death, he began to cry. And he said, the day my daughter died, I started to run, and I've never stopped, and I'm tired. And I think that day he started running toward God and not away. And there are wonderful things he did all during those years, that God was with him, and he loves God. I mean, Mike loves God with all of his heart. But sometimes loss, and we count our losses more than we do our blessings. And so we came to another memorial, and that is God telling us you count your blessings, not your losses. And we've learned to do that. And he tells us in Scripture that he comforts us so that we can comfort others. And I guess really what I would say in all of this, in our marriage being refreshed and renewed, not just restored. And I just want you to know, if you're out there and your husband and your marriage looks hopeless, and I'm telling you, the attorneys, the accountants, and the psychiatrists all said that we had less than 1% chance of ever working this out, because the death of a child, financial difficulties, and emotional and mental breakdown, we had less than 1% chance. And I said, I'll take God's 1% over your 99 any day. And we live on God's 1% because that's everything. That's everything.
As people who watched this program over the last 17 years know, when our daughter got killed, car hit her, and I think now my husband has never dealt with it. He weighed 165 and he got up to 269. That was the full amount of gaining a full person. And he's now back down. He's starting to come back down. He's got like to 239, but still, or 230, somewhere in there. But still, that's what he did. He ate. And that was his, and he didn't talk. And he still has a job, and he still functions at the job, and he does study the Bible a lot and study what the meanings are and runs. But as you were talking, I believe that is what he's been doing, and it was his way, because they say behind every good man is a woman, nagging. I lived up to my part, nag, please don't eat that fourth piece of bread, whatever. So I thank you for sharing that story with me, because I'm sure we've been living on the 1%. Some of you that have been praying with us know that we've been praying about our daughter, who's been going the last 4 to 6 weeks with all kinds of tests about her breast cancer. And so this daughter, because we had 2 daughters and one then got killed, but it's brought all of us closer to the Lord as a result of that. But sometimes I wonder if stress isn't what causes cancer or contributes to it, because this daughter that's living, Deanna, she says that she's still mad at Emily for leaving her. And she keeps saying, she left me with you. I have to put up with you, talking about me. And she's kind of joking, but she's kind of like saying it in a way that I guess I have been a controlling mother and wife too. So I really have been blessed by what you had to say. And even though I study the Bible and we've been around the world speaking to different groups and churches, and yet at the same time I know that I'm not there yet. I still got a hill to go across. And if the Lord, and I know the Lord spoke to me one time too, when I was trying to read the Bible on tape for my daughter that was in college. I said, how am I going to be able to say this? And why'd you put the big words in the Bible anyway? And he said, Bonnie, each one of those people is my child, just like you are. And so I know that with all of my heart, I desire to glorify and honor him in everything that I do. And I saw your same heart today. And I knew that there's a lot of people that could be blessed by what you had to say.
Well, if I can only say one more thing, the one thing that I would say is that God's comfort is greater than the sorrow. And many of you don't believe that yet. But I'm here to tell you, our daughter died in 1981, and this is 2006. I have to stop and think, how old would she be? How long has it been? Somebody asked me the other day, how long has it been? And I have to go back and count, because God's healing is so complete. Is there a scar there? Oh, yes. Is there a wound that's opened up when I counsel and work with other people who have lost children, whose marriages are on the brink of just obliteration and just all of that? Yes, I know the pain, and I take myself back there. But that's because I know the other side of it. Right. And God's comfort is greater than the sorrow. He tells us that anything we suffer so that we can comfort others. It's not about us. It's all about him. This isn't my story. I don't know why he's chosen me to do this part of his story, but he has. And all I can do is be faithful to him and say, okay, it's yours. And my little boy, my 6-year-old, after our daughter passed away, came into me and he said, Mommy, because I was so sad. And he said, Mommy, would you not be so sad if it had been me that died and not Susan? You know, we have to remember that God leaves us here for his purposes, not for ours. And I told my little boy, I said, oh no, John Michael, I am so thankful that God chose to take Susan, because he knew I needed you the most.
That's a good answer, because this daughter says, I know you wish it were me instead of her, because Emily was taking Bibles to the former Soviet Union and bringing fruit to the kingdom. There's been 10,000 youth come to the Lord as a result of her work, and Deanna's been kind of the she did comedy in nightclubs for a while before she came back to the Lord, and she's always been just like on the edge. And so I said, no, but I didn't think of those words to say, I needed you. I thank you for telling me that. I needed to hear that too.
The wisdom to know who he wants to serve his purposes. So thank you.
We have about a minute left, and so I just wanted to thank you again, Pam Huff, for sharing your story with us. And if I can ever help you write your book, because I know it's supposed to be a book, I'll be glad to do it.
The Lord back at me again.
I've been told that before.
So many times.
So I'll help you. I teach writing, and I can help you do that. I can show you how to do that. And I can show you also. And hey, you're welcome to come to our writing class. We have it the second Friday of every month. at my home in Huntsville, Alabama. But I also have the manuals that I can mail to you. So if you call the toll-free number 1-877-823-6886, and the Lord's laid it on my heart that I'm to help people write their story. And so that's one thing that I do, and also teach you how to tell it. Like Pam has said, oh, this is not my thing. But it's not our thing. But he also says, be always ready to give an answer for anyone that asks. And so you never know how many people will be blessed by what you had to say. Pam Huff, thank you very much. We're in Chattanooga, Tennessee as we speak, but you can pick this up in New Delhi, India if you want to. I'm Bonnie Libhart, and along with the books, and remember Emily's book, Build a Better You anthology, the book about putting it back together again, how the Lord's put our family back together again after financial challenges. We actually ended up having to take bankruptcy, and God has restored that to us and our family, and we are great companions, and we have love for each other. And bless you for watching.